when you have owners that get involved, sometimes people go, they don't like that. You hired these people, you hired general managers, you hire team presidents to do their jobs. Well, seems like with the Cavs coaching search that Dan Gilbert got heavily involved. And Mark Stein coming out saying, of course, Tom Izzo had to be involved in this again. Gave Kenny Atkinson a vote of confidence, and that weighed heavy on Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert comes in and says, I want this guy to be the coach of my team. Does that bother you? Does that bother you when an owner like Dan Gilbert, who has a championship under his belt, has owned the team for a long time, I would say, as we know, has made some mistakes doing his job, but I think he's learned from those and found a way on the other side of it. Does that bother you when he comes in and basically wipes everything out and says, this is how we're going to do things here with the Cleveland Cavaliers? He wanted to go Kenny Atkinson. Kenny Atkinson is the head coach of your basketball team now moving forward. Do you like Dan Gilbert's involvement in this process? We got a lot to discuss with the Cavs. They've got their head coach. He's not even here. He's not even in the country. He's overseas right now, assistant coaching for a team. So we'll get Kenny Atkinson here eventually. Guards! Yes! Man, do I love watching this team. Tanner Bybee is having a borderline all-star year. I don't think I would have said that. I don't know if I'd be saying that here on the 25th of June before the season started, but he has stepped up in a big way. You take it to the Orioles. We'll get to our... Dude, again, all the other guys that we would have picked for home runs hit him yesterday, but Josh Naylor with a rough day. Do we ride it again with Naylor on our boost with Typical? We'll get to that coming up. We do have a lot of football as well. I've got an article, Ryan, that I have not clicked on yet because I don't want to ruin the reaction on the show. Mike Clay ranked all 32 NFL rosters. Where did he put the Browns?
I'm a fan of Mike Clay.
I do like Mike Clay. I do. So I haven't clicked on it because I want the initial reaction from us here on the show of finding out where he put the Browns. We'll get to that coming up. Couple other things on the NFL side of things. Another busy time up today. We got to do the Immaculate Grid yet again today. We missed it yesterday. We're back on it today. We'll get it all for you right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Happy to have you along here on a 2 for Tuesday. We're in the big studio. The air conditioning is broken down there. Ryan and I couldn't do it anymore. Nope. Just couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't do it anymore. So we're here. The other thing we got to do this week, we got to go to Skyline.
Yeah, do you want to do Thursday probably?
Yeah, Thursday we'll go. Because that's your only day. Like, Ryan's got 1,000 other shows to do. So we got to pay off our bet.
It's right by my house.
To the boys down in Cincinnati. So we'll do that on Thursday. Busy week this week here on the show. Happy to have you alongside. Drop us a follow if you can up on Twitter, X, at Matt Fontana Show. Twitch, which is in the news for a lot of reasons, at Matt Fontana Show. I don't think does anybody know what's going on with that Dr. Disrespect stuff?
If you're on Twitter...
Like, if you follow Twitch, I think most people have seen it, so that's in the Twitch community. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube and drop a subscribe on our channel there, at Matt Fontana Show. Just real quick, because I want to start Cavs. We have a lot of things to do with the Cavs, but we'd be remiss to not give our flowers to the Cleveland Guardians for that win last night, man. Dude, this team... these series mean more to me. This week is going to be massive, right? Yeah, the Orioles are scuffling right now, but you saw... did that not have a playoff vibe to that game last night?
Absolutely.
And I know Hammy, I was out doing a lot of yard work last night, and I throw Hammy on and I'm listening. And he mentioned it like this. You see this being a playoff series. It could potentially very well be, come October. And it had that vibe yesterday. And that's where I appreciate the Guardians for stepping up to the plate, in games like that to understand it does mean a little bit more. But what have you found in Tanner Bybee, man? That guy continues to deal. And the question that we've asked several times on this show and brought up about the trade deadline, does he change things for you on how you view the trade deadline? Because we had a question for a while. Who are you starting in a playoff game? Now, you know who it is. It's Tanner Bybee. And he's out there, and he's going to get the game one start there in the playoffs when you get there. I don't want to say, I was having this conversation with somebody, too, about, basically the foregone conclusion that you're making the playoffs. And that's dangerous to say. I'm not running from that. I'm not going to run from that. This team is making the playoffs. And I know that you could say, oh, another injury here or a catastrophic failure. There is nothing that I have seen in now basically 3 months of baseball that has shown me that this team is going to collapse. Even the low stretches that you have. I'm shooting from the hip here, Ryan. Have the Guardians lost 4 games in a row this year?
I believe their longest losing streak is 3.
That's it, right. Yeah. I think maybe twice that they have had that, like ending a series, starting a series poorly.
Well, that's the crazy part about that, Matt, is, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we lose 3 straight to the White Sox? I know we dropped 3 out of 4. But still,
I think you might be right. Yeah, on that.
Which is kind of nuts.
Yeah. Right, and that comes back to exactly what I'm talking about. There's nothing about this team that I don't feel like they can avoid a long streak. So when you have, is it still 7.5? I didn't check the standings this morning.
8 now.
8?
We're 8 ahead of the Royals.
That's what I'm saying.
Excuse me, the Twins.
The Twins, right? Like, let them fight that on out. Bybee, 7 strikeouts again last night. And that was a scrappy game. You led 1-0, you led 2-1, and then eventually you had to come back and win the game 3-2. And you saw the Orioles push him, and you can see that they're getting tight over there with everything that's going on. It sucked about, Arias getting thrown out. I thought that was kind of funny or whatever. But you had what? Jose Ramirez showing up twice for Jose right there. A little Bo Naylor action, which I love. But even I get sucked into guys like Schneemann who are playing well and getting big hits, and Brennan. You had 8 hits yesterday, and the only guy that had 2 was Jose Ramirez. You saw Stephen Kwan with an obscene, they were talking about Gunnar Henderson, right? With his on-base and slugging, which is near 400. And Hammy was like, yeah, that's pretty good. He goes, oh, wait, Stephen Kwan's at 450 now for what he's doing. So I love this team, man. It's so much fun to watch. And these games against the Orioles, they mean more. It's going to mean a lot more for the Royals series coming up. I'm glad we can compete. I'm telling you that. And that's why I am not running at all about saying that this is a playoff team. And now I can start dreaming of ALCS. I can start thinking World Series. Doesn't mean I still don't want to trade. Doesn't mean that there's not a lot of baseball left. But this is going to be a fun summer, man. It already has been. What am I talking about? It's going to be. We're already halfway through it. But it's been a lot of fun watching this team. So got to give them their flowers today. That was a great win last night. It was a lot of fun to watch. I love those 6:30 starts too, man.
Yeah,
I don't mind the 6 o'clock, the early ones. 6:30 is right about where it's at, man. I like that a lot. So well done for the Guardians last night. We'll get to some more Guards coming up in a little bit. To basketball we go. Kenny Atkinson, again, not officially hired yet, but all reports are he is going to be either working through the contract. And the stories are continuing to come out that Dan Gilbert had a heavy hand in this whole thing. So we knew from the reporting of The Athletic yesterday, an hour before the news broke that Atkinson got the job, that there was a meeting. The Cavs are leaning James Borrego. Dan Gilbert comes in, says, you know what? I think I like Kenny Atkinson. Kenny Atkinson gets hired. Then a report from Mark Stein yesterday that the former Nets coach and Kenny Atkinson received an important endorsement from Michigan State coach Tom Izzo. Dan Gilbert's got this thing with Tom Izzo, and it was always the unicorn, so to speak. He tried to get him coach Cavs a couple of times. He never did it. Gilbert, of course, Michigan State. We all know that. He's got this connection to Tom Izzo. That's not a bad thing. Tom Izzo's really smart. He knows basketball. So if Dan Gilbert can have him, I was saying his back pocket, but he's got his number in his phone to text him and say, what do you think, or this and that. The only issue that I could probably bring up with that is Izzo's in the college game. It'd be different if he was calling somebody in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like calling, I want to say like Pat Riley. I know Pat Riley's with a team, but you get what I'm saying? Like if you had somebody in the NBA, it might mean a little bit different. It doesn't mean that Tom Izzo doesn't know people and talk to people. And he gave that advice to Dan Gilbert, and now Kenny Atkinson's your head coach. The question is, 2 for Tuesday, as we always do, 2 questions, 2 answers. Do you have an issue with Dan Gilbert I thought about wording this right, inserting himself into the hiring process, or let's just call it for what it is. He hired Kenny Atkinson. He came in and said, this is the guy that I want. And I know that Borrego and him were close. And again, I think it's a smart thing from just any employee standpoint. When your boss, when the owner of the company, the owner of the team tells you, I'm kind of leaning this way, you should probably take that advice. You should probably heed that in your decision making. But do you have a problem with it of Dan Gilbert putting a stamp on this, coming in and saying, this is what I want my team to do? And the meddling owner thing, I think always gets blown up more than it should, maybe in sports. Because what do you hear about? You always hear about the bad meddling owners. And Josh Harris going to Topgolf with the Commanders, with all the quarterbacks, right? Like, that is what I'm trying to guard against. And, basketball's a little different than football. But you think of, Jerry Jones has been an NFL general manager for about as long as I've been alive. So that's a little different, right? But you hear owners that want to sit down and break down tape with the GM. And you're sitting there and go, you don't know what you're talking about, right? You got owners showing up to Johnny Manziel's pro day in pads and getting drunk on Manziel. That's the stuff I don't like. Player evaluation is one thing I don't want a meddling owner on. Personnel decisions, they are the people that are hiring. And with Dan Gilbert, who is very smart and obviously built his fortune in the real estate game and mortgages and all that, he's still been an NBA owner. Ryan, coming up on 20 years. I would think that he's picked up a few things too. That he knows what it takes to run an NBA team. He won us a championship. Again, I give a lot of credit to LeBron. But he signed checks. He's interviewed people. He is an NBA owner. I would think that he has picked up some things over his years. So that's when, if people have an issue with it, Dan Gilbert's one that I would give the pass to. He is one that I would say, I think he knows what he's doing. I think he knows what he's talking about. So if he wants to come in, and I don't know, Ryan, would you say it's unfair to upset the establishment? It's not like something like Borrego was the hire and Dan came in and blew the whole thing up. And he's like, no, wait. We're going in this complete opposite direction. It's not like he came in and said, we're going to take this dark horse candidate that nobody had ever heard of before, and I'm pulling him out of this. They didn't do that. It was one of the two. He was probably kept abreast on everything that's going on. And he said, you know what? I think we go in this direction. And that's what they did. Knowing that we're not going to have an idea of what this hire is going to be for months, maybe even a year. I don't know what this is going to be until next year, until the whole season plays out. The other side of it would be, who was the last hire that Dan Gilbert had a heavy hand in?
I was going to say, I think there's a giant blemish that a lot of people are having a hard time overlooking.
You say giant blemish, it made me think of the answer, and that is, of course, John Beilein. That didn't go well at all.
No, it didn't.
Did not go well at all. Now, that was an outside-the-box, out of nowhere, right? Like, that was one that everybody goes, wait, you're doing what? And I remember trying to talk myself into that of going, well, this is a young team. Maybe he can run it like a college team. Ha! What a mistake that was on my part. It's let alone the Cavs, but my part. I tried to buy into it, but I just couldn't. What a mistake that was. This is different. This is an NBA guy, spent his life in the game, pro basketball. I sent the tweet that a lot of people have seen about the assistant coaches that he's been under. It's a pretty solid list of guys. This is a fine hire. And that's why I have no problem with Dan Gilbert inserting himself into this hire and making the decision. That's our first two for Tuesday up. At Matt Fontana Show, do you have a problem with Dan Gilbert doing what he did? Coming in and saying, this is what I want. His involvement in it. Does that bother you? It doesn't for me in the least, right?
No, it doesn't bother me. And I think it goes back to, I've been on record, I'm not a big Kobe Altman fan. And I'm sure that it's different player evaluations versus coach evaluations. And I'm not saying Kobe Altman's done this horrible job by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you can't predict that George Niang would play that poorly in the playoffs. You can't predict that Max Strus horrible clip in the playoffs. You can't really be all his fault. But I don't have any problem given that Dan Gilbert won us, like you said, you give a lot of credit to LeBron, obviously. And even though it was Ty Lue, not David Blatt, who won us a championship, I mean, I'm fine with it. Like you said, it's very different him hiring a guy like Kenny Atkinson than it is some dude who didn't have other offers like a John Beilein. Like Kenny Atkinson was a head coach in the NBA before. We know that. He's been under all these assistants, like you said. So I'm very fine with Dan Gilbert. If he thinks that this is the guy to do it, then I'll trust him.
Was it Dollar Dog Nick that had the meme sitting there, and it was like a picture of Kobe looking at Kenny Atkinson and go, would you play George Yang 24 minutes in a playoff game? And it goes, no. And they go, this is our guy.
You're hired.
You're hired. This is our guy. I mean, I'm sorry, poor George. Just kind of gets crapped on there. But no, I mean, that's with Kobe Altman, this head coaching hire is so tied to him, right? It's even tied more to Kobe than it is Dan Gilbert, because if it's a giant mistake, it's going to fall poorly on Kobe Altman. And we know Kobe Altman's kind of on thin ice as it goes anyway, and it's more about Donovan Mitchell and what they were able to do. But yeah, Kenny Atkinson's got a big hand in it. If you watch the show, if you know where I come with the players, yes, coaching is important. I will always take a good roster. I will always take a team that is built with good players. I think they mask coaching. They really do. And maybe I'm devaluing the coach, but I'm just going to say, is it all that important? I don't know. I really don't know, right? Like, you look at Joe Mazzulla. Is he really some savant to go win the title? No, they had the best players in a lot of the series that they played. Is Kenny Atkinson going to come in here and completely reshape what's going on? That's another let's talk about that for a second real quick, too. That's why another thing about Kenny Atkinson coming into this job, there's a lot of reasons for optimism, but one of them, I don't need him to reinvent the wheel here. A lot of what we have heard about Atkinson of the offensive side of things is the development of Evan Mobley, which I would say is almost maybe even number one on the job list here for Kenny Atkinson. You got to win games, yes. The development of Evan Mobley is a very important part of this. Donovan Mitchell, dude, he's Donovan Mitchell, man. Like, come on now. Like, we know how good he is. I'm not saying that there's not nuanced coaching that needs to happen there. And then team fit and rotations and lineups and all that other kind of stuff, yes. But I just need him to continue on the path that you're already on. Now, there are some people in sports that will tell you this is actually harder than the rebuild. Getting over that initial hump, which I guess maybe the Cavs already have because they've made the playoffs, they got to the second round, okay, fine. This is almost like hump 3. You know what I'm saying? Hump 1, full-on rebuild. You get your draft picks in here, you make the right team, you build the right team up. Hump 2, you make the playoffs, you make a little bit of noise. But hump 3 is where we're at right now. And that is actually ascending to being a title contending team. That is harder than the rebuild. And I'll say that. Like, the rebuild, there's a lot of different avenues and paths that you can go to try. You are now in, you got to make your money, so to speak. Now is the time for the rubber to hit the road on this team and for them to be an Eastern Conference contender and for, eventually a title contender. Do I expect that this season? Not necessarily, but I have to concede the continued growth. I've got to see this team keep taking the steps forward. So that's good on Kenny Atkinson to say, hey, this isn't a bottom barrel team. We didn't rip this down to the studs, but there's also more expectations, and this is actually maybe the harder thing that you got to do than navigate the rebuild here. We're through that. Your core, for the most part, is here. There are some decisions that still have to be made, and I also, like, the fear, I don't say fear, but I guess like the worry of some of the moves that the Cavs are going to make. You got to have faith that it's going to actually improve the team, right? Like, I don't know what they're going to do with Darius Garland. I don't know what they're going to do with Jared Allen. But I assume that the team's going to get better because of that. I assume the Kenny Atkinson hire is going to be better than JB Bickerstaff. That's a take I saw yesterday on social media, Ryan. People are like, this is no different than JB. This is no different of a hire from JB Bickerstaff. My pushback on that is, it's still the change that the team needed. If you want to say that Kenny Atkinson and JB Bickerstaff are the same coach, I don't have much to debate you on that. If anything, JB actually has more to show you. He's got more accolades. But you needed the change. You needed the shake to this team to say that this is not good enough. And that unfortunately cost JB his job. And then when you factor in, too, if this team was truly over him being the head coach, which sounded like they were, you had no choice. You had no choice. So if you want to talk X's and O's and try to debate between JB and Kenny Atkinson, oh, they're one and the same, you still needed to make the change. And I think that was probably your biggest move, Ryan, was making a change to send that message to the rest of this team.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, and we talked about this for weeks. You felt, or even at that point, it was maybe over a month before we got to the playoffs. You talked about there was just that point of no return with JB Bickerstaff, it felt like. And clearly inside the organizations with the reports that came out with The Athletic, this was like right after the news that he got fired, where Donovan Mitchell wasn't very fond of his workouts, or he felt as though they were getting treated as this young team that wasn't truly ready to go out and compete. You needed to make a change, whether it was Kenny Atkinson, whether it was James Borrego. Obviously, now we know it's Kenny Atkinson. But I'm all for it, and I think the Cavs are all for it, obviously. And we don't know what the roster is going to look like 2 months from now when free agents and trades are available and all that. Like, we don't know. But right now, I mean, you have such a nice base, and with Kenny Atkinson, which I've been reading all about, he's a player development savant, it seems like, which is great because when you got Evan Mobley into the league, the Cavs weren't a playoff contending team necessarily when you got there. You weren't really until you got Donovan Mitchell, but you were still a team that showed you could make the play-in even without Donovan Mitchell. And so it's tough at that point to still win and also develop your star players when they're so young, especially in Evan Mobley's case. But like that's like the Spurs right now with Wemby, they're not in win now mode by any means. They'll probably tank for another year or two, but they're developing Wemby, and he's going to be a top 5 player in no time.
Yeah.
So it's difficult with Evan Mobley, but if Atkinson can come in there and can figure out whether it's to figure it out with Jared Allen or whether he recognizes that, hey, to develop Evan Mobley, this too big isn't going to work. And that's up for them to decide and figure it out.
And I have a lot of belief that Kenny Atkinson, even with his relationship with Jared Allen, which, by the way, I think that is overblown as hell. Like, okay, he coached Karis LeVert and Jared Allen. I'm sure he likes those guys. So what? So what? And Wendy said that yesterday. Jared Allen didn't have anything to do with this hire. Okay. Donovan Mitchell probably did. That's fine. Now, whether this was him pounding the table or just kind of him giving the thumbs up, I like that move, that's all aside. Okay, so he coached those guys. You don't even know if either one of those guys are going to be here. Now, the thing is, when you do have to make that decision of if you think it's going to work, will Kenny Atkinson be biased because he knows Jared Allen? I don't like that. I want him to make the right decision for the Cavs. Can you work with two bigs? Is this going to work? And the thing is this I don't think anybody would disagree with what I'm about to say, Ryan. If there was any part of Jared Allen, and let me start by saying this. I like Jared Allen, and this is no way a negative reflection on him, like saying he's doing this on purpose, but I'm going to say this anyway. If there's any part of Jared Allen potentially impeding or slowing the development of Evan Mobley, he's got to go.
Yes.
He's got to go. Because one of the most important things on this team, Donovan Mitchell is number one. If the Cavs want to go where they want to go, there is no world other than Evan Mobley being the second best player on this team, or dare I say, one day, the best player on this team. And people are down on Mobley. This year, you didn't see the offensive development maybe you wanted to see. I'm all for more threes from him. I'm all for more stretching of the floor with him and shooting. I want all of that. So if you sit down and ask yourself that question, is Jared Allen impeding the development of Evan Mobley? The decision has to be made. And I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sure Kenny Atkinson has an idea, and it is like a lot of things in life. You don't know until you do it. You don't actually know until you would trade away Jared Allen. Because what would that move be? You can move Evan Mobley back to the 5, which a lot of NBA people say that's the right thing to do. Now, does he want to do that? Is he a little light on the weight side of things? Sure. But if that is the development that you have to have, then you move on from Jared Allen.
Yeah, and the glimpses that we got of that Evan Mobley offensive development, when did they come? They came when Jared Allen wasn't there.
Right.
When they playing in the Boston Celtics. At one point, Evan Mobley looked like the best player on the Cavaliers in those last couple of games before we got eliminated. So it's tough because for us as fans, what we see from the eye test is, we have clear evidence that it doesn't work, and Evan Mobley is clearly better when the floor is more stretched, and he's the only one down there low. So like you said, we don't know the answer to that, the X's and O's of it. If Kenny Atkinson can work that out and figure it out, then I'm all for keeping Jared Allen because I think he's a phenomenal player. And in some aspects, in terms of consistency, he was our best player last year.
Well, and that's the thing. For some teams, he is a better fit. For a team that wouldn't have an Evan Mobley or wouldn't have another big, he'd be fine. He is a perennial all-star. He's a double-double machine. He's great at what he does. Is his position maybe slowly getting phased out of today's NBA? I almost said NFL, talking about a running back, but we'll get to that. By the way, the NFL, NFL.com today, the player every team should be rooting for. The player on every single team that fans should be rooting for. It's an obvious answer for the Browns.
Yeah. Gotta be.
It's Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
It's Nick Chubb. But we'll get to that a little bit later. I got a lot of NFL to get to today. But is his position maybe getting phased out in the NBA? You don't want that true big, just shot blocking defensive center? Yeah, fine. That's the Cavs got the spoil of these riches, right? They made that trade for Jared Allen. Kobe Altman looked like a friggin' genius, didn't he? And then you just happen to have a draft that you took Evan Mobley. Good. Great. I know Scotty Barnes is getting hit. Dude, Scotty Barnes. Holy cow. $270 million on a rookie extension? I'll tell you this, man. And being a young, good NBA player, just a million. Like, imagine a rookie extension for like a Stephen Kwan. If he was in the same boat as NBA players, oh man, even football players. And granted, they get to the fifth-year option of your, draft pick, all that kind of stuff. But nobody gets paid like a young star in the NBA. And yeah, I'm happy with the Evan Mobley pick. Everybody was excited when he fell to the Cavs at 3. You made the right pick there. He'll get his rookie extension. You got to build around. That's what you got to do with Kenny Atkinson. So our Twitter question is up, at Matt Fontana Show. We're asking everybody, does Dan Gilbert's involvement in the Kenny Atkinson hire bother you? Yes or no? I voted no. Ryan voted no. We're about 80-20 on the no. Thomas tweets, how can anyone say yes? He owns the team. He's free to do as he pleases and insert himself wherever he wants. Yeah, but if you say that about some other coaches, other owners, people are like, I hate that. You know what I mean? I don't like that. But the thing is, Dan knows what he's doing. I'm glad that he's back and healthy. And I will say this. It's not that the Cavs have been, down over the last couple of years. You had a rebuild. After a stretch where you went to 4 straight finals and won a championship and LeBron left, they had to navigate a rebuild like a lot of teams do, and I think they've done a fantastic job doing it. But I wonder about, obviously, his health scare, how much that did factor into this. And again, I'm not saying that the path has been bad or it's not gone well for the Cavs. It has. But I frankly think him being back involved is a good thing for this team. I really do. I think him being back at full health and ready to go, I think that's good for the Cavs. I really do. So I'm happy he is, and if he inserts himself in this, so be it. Well, I know the Lakers inserted themselves in their hire of J.J. Redick. I want to talk quickly about his press conference yesterday. And I think what a miss it was for him to just be so pissed off and defensive. And he was asked 1,000 questions about proving people wrong. He drops the F-bomb that I'm not here to try to dispel any preconceived notions. He said he didn't talk to LeBron about the job. Okay, whatever you say, man. His podcasts are done. I think J.J. Redick came off really bad yesterday. And I get it that would you say the public perception is not good on that hire?
No, it's not.
It's not. And instead of understanding it and just laughing it off, one of my things, I don't know, doing this job and seeing how people react to press conferences, and this is actually something in life, I actually look more into how people answer a question. Like, if somebody asks you something that you think, like, they accuse you of something, right? And you sit there and you freak out and you're throwing stuff and how dare you go, oh, I struck a nerve there, didn't I? Where if somebody goes, man, that's bullcrap. Don't even think about it. And you just move forward. If JJ would have had that in a calm manner, because I saw him getting worked up in that, and the questions were coming. Bro, you ain't going to win that press conference. You should have started by just saying there is no way and in no world that you are going to win that press conference. And also, it doesn't matter. You got the job. And I know it's the Lakers, and I know it's LA, and everything that he said was going to be the top story on ESPN this morning, and everybody was going to talk about it. Just play it off, man. Just laugh it off. Don't get defensive about this is all I've ever wanted to do and this is what I've always dreamed of doing and winning championships and player development. Just be calm, cool, and collected. I don't feel like it was. And it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Again, he got the job. He's already the hire. LeBron is on his side. And the other thing, the defense of like LeBron being his buddy or that. So what? Embrace that. You can't hide from that you're buddies with LeBron. He did say, of course, that the podcasting was all done.
Yes, he did say
Didn't
that.
he drop an engagement farming reference at some point in his press conference? He said something about that, about engagement farming.
Yeah, probably like people just talking about him and the job. Like,
Right,
they're
and
just
it's
looking
like-
for clicks.
But dude, you were in that world. Like, you get that. And you were good. Here's my advice to JJ, seriously. You were good enough for the Lakers. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. You will not win over any fans until you start winning games. And there's a mountain to be climbed there, man. That roster, I'm sure he looked deep and heavy at that when he decided to take this job. You're not going to win anything until you start playing games. They hired you. Don't worry about anything else. You know, and I do think, and Michelle Smallman had this take this morning on Unsportsmanlike, which I think is 1,000% on. Him dropping those F-bombs, that was him trying to assert himself. Like, dude, come on, man. Don't do that. Because here's the other thing about J.J. Redick. And something to go back about Kenny Atkinson, is the head coach of the Cavs now. Kenny Atkinson knows what kind of coach he is, right? And everything that I've heard, he's a real player's coach, right? He understands things. And again, I don't think there's many successful coaches in the NBA that aren't players' coaches, but he's that way. J.J. Redick doesn't know what kind of coach he is because he's not done it before. So is he going to be this hard ass? Is he going to be the next Greg Popovich? Is he going to be acquiesce to the players? Is that something that he gets worried about because then he just sees as a lackey for LeBron and sitting there doing what LeBron wants? He has to establish all that while still figuring out how to be an NBA coach. Not an easy job.
No, it is not.
But I don't think, like, and I'm not trying to say winning press conferences or losing press conferences are important. I just thought he came off so bad yesterday, man. I didn't like a lot of things. It's not my problem. I don't get no skin off my rear end. Like, he's the Lakers coach. Good, great, good, best of luck. But I also, the other thing is a part of that, not just the media-driven stuff. It's that you were very clearly not their first choice because that guy's at UConn, and he said no to them. Like, that as a human being, anybody with pride, anybody with a little bit of an ego would tell you that would bother you. And I felt like a lot of that was coming off of defending against the media and trying to defend the fact that he knows he wasn't the first guy. That sucks. Like, I'm not wishing ill will on J.J. Redick. I really don't care what he does. Go ahead. Yeah, have success. But he's got all the eyes and ears on him right now, and he's fighting an uphill battle on several fronts. But that press conference did not go well yesterday for them. But
no, I didn't think it went either. And
I guess
it's very a unique situation. Not only do you have this guy coming straight from the media, but he's going to the most recognizable franchise in maybe the world.
Yeah. Yankees. That's a great question. I don't know, man. That Yankees logo is freaking everywhere, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's everywhere. But yeah, in basketball, certainly them and the Celtics.
But LeBron owns China.
He does. I mean, LeBron is a worldwide figure, and now he's got J.J. Redick now as his coach. What do you exactly ask for? Are you sad the podcast is coming to an end?
I never listened to it once.
I don't know how it could have worked, and there is in no world that it would have, but, like, I'm sure that's money out of his pocket. And didn't they have contracts and stuff like that? I don't know. I mean, it's LeBron's thing. Does LeBron keep going with the podcast and find somebody else to do it with him? I think so.
Probably.
We're available. Come on in, Brian. You can sit on the garage beer throne. I sent the picture out this morning. We're in the main studio. There's a garage beer throne right over here. So come on in, Brian. We'll do it on the garage beer throne. A king throne? Come on.
Works perfectly.
Come on. It works perfectly. Over to the NFL on a couple things this morning. So you want to start with the Mike Clay thing?
Yeah.
So I click on, I'm getting ready for the show, and I saw this, and I have not looked at it because I want to have the initial reaction of what we feel. This is Mike Clay. Well, let me put it this way. He said it's multiple contributors. So it starts with Mike Clay, Aaron Shaz, and Seth Walder. And they are all the analytical people at ESPN. So they don't look at hype. They look at just pure numbers. This is what they did of the starting 32 squads in the NFL. They're not going down to a third-string linebacker here. They're looking at your 22 starters. This is what they did to come up with their ranking. Talent, age, and production were some of the biggest factors. Then Mike Clay did the strongest and weakest units for each team. Seth Walder factored in X factors. And Aaron Schatz found non-starters who could make contributions off the bench. So again, I say that to say all this. These are your factors. Talent, age, production of your roster, Strongest, weakest units, X factors, your bench guys. That's all factored in as they go through the best rosters in football. Before I even scroll down, Ryan, where do you think the Browns are at? I've got a number in my head. So let's start with Cleveland. Best defense in the league, arguably. At worst, top 3. Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, strong offensive line. You know Watson will be factored into this too. There's your strong points. I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say that they are somewhere around 6 when this all shakes out. What would you say?
See, I could legit make an argument when you factor in all those things, when you factor in age, you factor in production, you factor in players that you can have come off the bench, guys like DeJuan Jones.
I will say one quick thing, you made me think about this too. No, contracts are not a part of this. So you don't look at Deshaun Watson's deal. You don't look who's paid up or not.
And quarterback is obviously weighted very heavy in the NFL, as it should be. But to say all that, I could legit make an argument top to bottom in terms of depth, production, age. The Browns could have the best roster in all of football. I could really make that argument. Now, do I think that he's going to write that? Maybe not. I think they should be top 3.
Okay. I'm going to say 6, right? And that's fine. No, I'm 100% where you're getting. You're not wrong on that. I think you might be pissed off. Let's find out. All right, number 1. It is not the Cleveland Browns.
I would be very surprised.
Would you like to guess?
49ers.
Correct. Their biggest strength, offensive skill position. McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle. Stop it right there. Their biggest weakness is the offensive line. They have a superstar in Trent Williams. Bunch of questions beyond that. X factor, D-line. Non-starter that'll help them, Juwan Jennings. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, strongest roster in the NFL. Also not the Cleveland Browns.
Is it a little bit surprising who it is?
No.
Okay. I'll say Philadelphia.
AFC squad.
AFC. Did he just put the Chiefs?
He did.
Okay.
Now, you would think, because, again, biggest strength, quarterback. And that's a little top-heavy of what they have. Biggest weakness, offensive tackle. X factor, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy. And their non-starters, Leo Chenal, their linebacker that played a lot. So it's the Chiefs at 2. Number 3, also an AFC team, not the Cleveland Browns.
Did they put the Texans?
No.
See, because I promise you every team that we're going to talk about, I can make a legit argument that the Browns should be above them. I mean,
we argue about this team a lot.
Did he put the Bengals?
Nope. Close.
The Ravens?
The Ravens.
Yeah.
The Ravens are 3.
I still think the Browns are deeper.
Biggest strength, safety. Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams. Biggest weakness, guards. X factor is defensive coordinator Zach Orr, who took that job over there. Okay. All right. The 4th best roster in football, Ryan.
AFC or NFC?
AFC.
You're making me you're laughing. Did he do something crazy?
In my opinion, he did.
Like the Steelers?
Nope.
The Bills?
Nope.
Oh, the Jets.
Yeah. Jets.
On paper, yes. Like they are.
That's like, I guess maybe I shouldn't laugh. Their biggest strength is Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed. They have one of the best cornerback rooms in the NFL. Their biggest weakness is safety. But there's not even a mention of Aaron Rodgers in this. Like they say, okay, the answer, the X factor they say is Aaron Rodgers. I guess okay, so he is in here. But like, I guess maybe I'm crapping on them when I shouldn't. Dude, I forgot that defense, man. Sauce, DJ Reed, CJ Mosley, Hassan Reddick, who I know is sitting out, Javon Kinlaw and Quinnen Williams, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Malachi Corley with Aaron. I guess I shouldn't laugh. Therefore,
it's just a lot of unproven.
Yep. Number 5, Detroit. Number 6, Dallas. So I'm out. I said top 6. Browns are not here. 7 is Cincinnati. 8 is Houston. 9, Buffalo. 10, Philadelphia. 11, Miami. 12, your Cleveland Browns.
It's
12. 12.
If Deshaun plays to a top 10 quarterback level, the Browns are better than probably 9 of those teams.
Biggest strength, edge rusher. It feels odd to not be talking about Cleveland's offensive line here, but questions at tackle push me towards the breakout defense of 2023. Reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett leads that unit, having posted 50-plus pass rush wins and a 10-plus sack season in 6 consecutive years. Zadarius Smith returns posting an outstanding 21% pass rush win rate from a year ago. Solid depth with Obo and Alex Wright. That is their biggest strength, edge rusher. Their biggest weakness?
Did he say quarterback?
Nope.
Linebacker?
Nope.
Running back?
Yep, running back. Running back room without Nick Chubb or being listed as a weakness might seem ludicrous, but the Browns are loaded almost everywhere else. Chubb is very well known for the horrific knee injury. If Chubb is somehow able to play at his usual elite level, coming off this injury, this will remain a strength position. If not, Jerome Ford, Deontay Foreman, and Nyheim Hines will be tasked with holding down the fort. Browns running backs not named Nick Chubb averaged 3.8 yards per carry and 4.8 yards per target last season. Your X factor? Deshaun Watson. If he can somehow regain the form that he had in Houston, we got it. Non-starter to know from Aaron Shaz is Devin Bush. He said the Browns play only base defense 16% of the time last season, but they were fantastic doing that, just allowing 3.6 yards per play. Bush only played 250 snaps in Seattle, but he had better numbers than he did his final year with Pittsburgh. Can the Browns continue to shut down the run when they bring a third linebacker onto the field? Projected starters for the Browns: Watson, Chubb, Jerome Ford, Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku. Now, here's the interesting thing. Offensive line, they have Wills and Conklin as your projected starters. Petonio, Posick, and Teller, we know. Would you start camp that way? I feel like you have to, right?
Yeah, you do.
And then if DeJuan Jones ascends, I guess maybe I'm just so conditioned that Jack Conklin's going to get traded. I don't know. You ain't trading Jed Wills, and I actually do think there's an opening that he gets extended at some point. I think Wills, if you get 6 games into the season and you see him play into a decent level, you're going to have to extend him. Can't pay everybody. And he seems to be an average left tackle. You pay him average left tackle money and go from there. Starters on defense: Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith. Linebackers are Jordan Hicks and Jeremiah Usu-Koramoah. The 3 corners and the safeties: Ward, Newsome, Emerson, Delpit, and Thornhill. Kind of rank it out there. So 12 seems a little low. I'm going to give you the teams ahead of them again. You tell me if the Browns have a better roster. Miami.
Yes.
Eagles. Maybe. Okay. Buffalo.
Yes.
Yes. Their receivers are trash. Houston.
Yes.
Okay.
They have a lot.
Maybe.
They have a lot of young talent, but I'm going Browns.
Cincinnati.
We have a better roster. Don't care.
I think we have a better defense.
Don't care.
Lot better defense. And maybe a better offense in places. Dallas. 6.
Browns.
The same thing, man. They have CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
A defense that doesn't have Leighton Vander Esch anymore. I know Micah Parsons is good. You know how we feel about Deron Bland with his pick 6s, and that's fine. Trevon Diggs is very good, too.
That's got to be the most overrated cornerback room in the entire
Probably.
league.
Detroit at 5, they're pretty damn good. They're pretty damn good. Jets, which just made me laugh. I guess maybe not at 4. Ravens, maybe.
I mean, they have defensive studs, and then you have your 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. So it's hard to put them over them, but I think the Browns are deeper. I think they have more talent.
And then I don't think we can complain about the 49ers or the Chiefs. They're better, right? They're better, probably are. Who do you think the worst roster in all of football is, according to these guys?
Probably the Panthers.
No.
Washington?
No. Washington was 30. Denver was 31.
Patriots?
The Giants are 32. Which, I guess kind of makes sense. 29 was the Panthers. Arizona, 28. Patriots were 27. They're on the list. So, again, we didn't know where the Browns were at. I didn't look at it. I wanted to see. I feel like 12 is a little low. 12 is a little bit low.
They have them as a playoff team.
They have them a playoff team. Right. Just on that roster, you have some questions of the offensive line. You factor in Nick Chubb. That's certainly it. Again, not really to bring this up for much of a conversation, but they went through NFL.com, the one player to root for from each team it was Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all going to be rooting for him and hope that he comes back, and I hope there's a long-term deal. I think Andrew Berry's been smart this whole offseason by hedging his bet, saying, I'm not promising anything beyond this year. We'll see what happens with Nick Chubb. Final thing on the NFL side of things, NFL MVP dark horse candidates. Judy Batista of NFL.com, dark horse candidates for the MVP. You know why I clicked on this one? I wanted to see if Myles Garrett would be on here. He would qualify as a dark horse.
Yeah, he would.
It would be the first time since...
It's never going to happen, but
it's never going to happen. But there's two factors for a defensive guy winning the MVP. Number one, and most importantly...
20 sacks.
Yes.
20 sacks.
Yes, something like that. But you got to have offensive guys that are at a wash. Like, you got to have Patrick Mahomes just kind of be average. You got to not have Christian McCaffrey do anything. Like, it starts with the offensive players having a bad year. And then if you talk about non-quarterbacks, because this has turned into a quarterback award, we all know it has. But you need quarterbacks to be just nobody, like, head and shoulders above anybody else. You can't have a 40-touchdown season from one of these guys. You can't have something crazy that ascends, because they're just going to lean towards quarterback and give it to them. So that's number one. Then you can't have Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, one of those guys do something. I was a little shocked by Judy. She did not put any defensive players. Oh, wait. No, she did. She did. But it wasn't Myles Garrett. Here's her dark horse candidates. Number one, Jared Goff. Okay, you won the NFC North. You got this close to winning the NFC Championship game. I don't know. I feel like he's a guy that will just never get the full credit that is deserved there in Detroit. So I guess dark horse would work. Number two, Tyreek Hill. Calvin Johnson said this offseason he predicts that eventually Tyreek Hill will pass his single season record, 17 games versus 16, which I understand. Yeah. Is Tyreek a guy the NFL doesn't want to give the MVP to?
I mean, if Cooper Kupp didn't get it, I don't know how a receiver in this day and age is going to get it.
And I think people kind of maybe forget or gloss over some of the things about Tyreek Hill's past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't forget that. As a father, I don't. And it was alleged. Got to say that. And whatever happened, whatever. I don't think the NFL wants him winning an MVP. So I don't know if he's ever get there. Even if he broke that record, because you want to know the cop-out? Oh, man, you got an extra game. You got 17 games to do it. Maybe if he did it in just 16, we'll see. Christian McCaffrey finished third in the MVP voting last year, and they say probably had the best chance of any player to break the quarterback stranglehold. The thing about McCaffrey, I'm just waiting like everybody for a down year. You can't do this every single year, right?
Yeah, he might be able to.
I guess you're right. I mean, he is good. Again, dark horse MVP candidates. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray on this list.
Just they're not going enough games.
Are people still going back to when they started that season 10-0?
I still think
Marvin Harrison.
I still think he's a very serviceable quarterback.
Oh, I think he's very good, and he's electric, right? Like he puts up gaudy numbers.
And here's the thing: when you look at guys that win MVPs like Lamar Jackson, and the one year my dark horse was 2 years ago was I said Jalen Hurts was going to win the MVP, and he would have won the MVP if he didn't get hurt the last 2 games of the season. Because when you factor in guys that can pass the ball, like Lamar Jackson has developed as a pretty decent passer in the NFL.
Sure.
Jalen Hurts can pass the ball in the NFL, and these guys that add that to these rushing accolades, their numbers at the end of the season just look crazy.
And the other thing is, if you help significantly turn your team around, like what Kyler could potentially do, then you get a lot of more eyes and ears on you, which helps your case. I could see it. Defensive player is Micah Parsons. Dallas is your factor on that. CJ Stroud, dark horse candidate, and Tua. Here's my issue there. I don't think they're dark horses. I think there's going to be a lot on CJ Stroud to win the MVP. I know it's just his second year, and that's maybe why you would say it's a dark horse. Tua, I don't see that as a dark horse at all.
No, and I believe Patrick Mahomes' his second year as a full-time starter won the MVP, so it wouldn't be something totally out of the ordinary to see CJ Stroud. And Tua is a guy that it seems like every year you get to the halfway point, we're talking about he's the midseason MVP.
Well,
and then they just fall off.
Here's my other thing. Look at the landscape of things. Yes, Patrick Mahomes will begin every season that he is healthy and in his prime. He will begin every damn year as the favorite in Vegas to win the MVP. That's how that's going to go. Let's go to the next wave. Is that not C.J. Stroud and Tua Tagovailoa? Josh Allen,
Jalen Hurts.
Yep. I don't even think Brock Purdy's in there. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey would be like, that's what I'm saying. Like some of these dark horses, I appreciate Judy's article. A lot of these dark horses are on the second wave here. Stafford's not there. Aaron Rodgers isn't there anymore. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Okay, those are not dark horses. They're back in it. I get it. I think C.J. Stroud would be top 5, right? And then her bonus pick is Jordan Love.
Yep.
Which, again, I know you and I are big fans on that. You want me to look up the odds right now? You got it on Tipico real quick? Futures? Tipico? Download the app. Use the code Fontana150 as things are going on. Download it. Open it up here. NFL. We got to get our boost in, by the way. We'll do it in a break. Sports. We'll get it later. Here, let me just do this. This is from Fox Sports. NFL MVP odds. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes, plus 450. Number 2, Josh Allen and C.J. Stroud, plus 850. Joe Burrow, plus 900. Jordan Love, Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, plus 1,400. Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, all plus 1,600 to get it. So that's what I'm saying. Like dark horse, C.J. Stroud is tied for the second best odds, shortest odds to win the MVP. They're all quarterbacks on this, by the way. Anthony Richardson, 3,000. Stafford, 3,000. Tua, 2,200. For all your odds.
Oh, dude,
right
I forgot to mention. I saw your tweet. The one analyst was talking about Anthony Richardson being the potential number 1 quarterback, and you were like, "No way."
Oh yeah, I used the gift from Old School where he goes, "I like you, man, but I meant
to tell you, dude, I could see it."
Well, and that's
okay. So here's in fantasy quarterbacks that run.
That's I was say that was Field Yates talking about from a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah,
that and I could. I like that offense in Indy a lot. I like it a lot. I'm a big Pittman fan. I love Jonathan Taylor. Offensive line is fine. You mix in a little Alec Pierce, 1,000% from a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quarterbacks, man. You expect to put up gaudy numbers. Like, do you think Kyler is back to being QB1 in the fantasy world?
I mean, even a guy like in fantasy, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Just guys that are straight up athletes.
Well, and there's also then a balance, too, of on a team that doesn't have a lot going on, so this guy just goes around and does everything, right? Like, you just run around, you play everything. And you put up a lot of numbers, you don't maybe win a lot of games.
That was CMC on the Panthers for like 6 years.
Well, same thing, right? There's some bad teams that quarterbacks still put up really good numbers because that's all they can do. But you still need offensive line, you still need some receivers, you still need all that kind of stuff as it goes on. So that's a little bit of NFL that we dove into there. Again, 12 on the ESPN list for the rankings for the rosters. Fair, fine, kind of understand it. Twitter question is up at Matt Fontana Show, asking everybody, do you have an issue with Dan Gilbert inserting himself into the hire Kenny Atkinson? We'll revisit that when we come back. I also want to get into our second 2 for Tuesday. We'll get our typical boost going for today. We got it all for you right here on the Fontana Show. Tuesdays, Ryan will see himself back on TV with the return. For those that don't know, Ryan was at Put in Bay.
I was.
Trying to put some moves on the ladies and said, you see that guy on the TV?
I am still recovering.
Wait till you hit 30, buddy. Dude, 35.
If I make
That's
it
where
that
I'm
far.
at now. You'll be fine. You'll be all right. It's a 2-to-1 ratio. Almost for every day that you get after it, you need about 2 days worth of recovery.
Yeah. I projected by the end of Thursday I'll be all right.
You'll be all right. The sleep is what throws you off probably more than anything.
It was the sleep. It was.
Did you get good sleep while you were there? I'm sure. Like, no offense to the Airbnb where you staying. How were the mattresses? They
were
fine?
actually fine.
Okay.
It was just the fact that I was with 13 dudes. And we were staying up till 4 a.m. every night, getting up at 9 a.m. Drinking a beer with my breakfast.
So I'm not getting fatherly on you. I'm not getting preachy on you. But from my experiences, let me help you out on this. You guys got to set a schedule. And here's the schedule I'm talking about. Number 1, you're right. 2 a.m., that needs to be the cutoff. And that everybody needs to agree on that. And I'm sure you guys were partying us, have a good time. I'm all for that. Because what you want to do is start your next day. This is what you do. You do get up early at 9, especially Put in Bay. Get to the bar, especially if you're going to swim up bar. Get there early because you got to hawk out your spot. I don't know why I said that. It was just because the video's everywhere and everybody. Did they find that chick, by the way?
Yeah, she's selling stuff already.
Oh, already? Good for her. So you got to get your spot. You got to corner off. Like, you got to put your stuff down, get it. You go there from like 10 to 1, 10 to 2.
Oh, I took a nap every day.
Then get home, take a nap.
I think I took
Take a nap.
naps, yeah.
Then you're back at it for the evening. The other thing, and this is one of my best piece of advice. One of my best piece of advice for you. Take your phone. You set a timer for every 45 minutes. When that goes off, drink a water. I'm not kidding. Seriously. It'll help you in the long run.
Oh, I know it will.
But you got to set the timer because you won't ever remember to do it. That'll wreck you more than anything.
Yeah, no,
when you're dehydrated in the sun and you don't sleep well, you're ruined.
I'm severely dehydrated. I'm severely dehydrated.
You got to get the Pedialyte. You see how they've just flipped now and they don't mind marketing to adults now? Because Pedialyte used to just be a kid's drink, and now they're basically like, we know hungover adults drink it too. That's fine. Yeah. We'll take our money any way that we can get it. So you got to get that. You got to rock it in. But you're still on the recovery path. We'll get you there with it. Tuesday's a busy day. The return with Josh and Maria Cribbs tonight. We've also got Enter the Jungle with James Rapine and crew Andrew Fox Miller. I wonder if they know where the Bengals were at that ranking. They'll discuss that tonight. Folks, Big Play is where it's at. BigPlay.com. All of our merch. You want to bet? I bet the over in the hockey game last night. Do you know there was some insane streak, like 14 out of the last 16 or 14 out of the last 15 Stanley Cup last games, or game sevens, the under hit. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to score all these goals. Three. Missed on that. But nonetheless, all of our merch is there, all the shows, and we got something coming new with us here at Big Play. I'm very excited about it. We're in the final testing stages with that. We'll announce it when the time is right. But we got it all for you ready to Big Play. In the meantime, just follow us at Big Play on Twitter. All of our shows are there. You can see all of them right there. We're at Matt Fontana Show for Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe there. And also up on Twitch if you're interested there, at Matt Fontana Show. All right, we'll get to that coming up. We got the morning update. We'll give the grid a try again today. We'll get to our 2 for Tuesday. Stay with us. Fontana Show right here at Big Play.
Well, how do they know I'm doing this? Did somebody leak this out?
It's social media.
Oh.
It's just, that's the way social media works now.
I thought maybe you were just running that yap.
Welcome to Big Play, a sports media team that started back in 2014, and now we're not in a garage. Look at us, incorporating some of Cleveland's favorite sports personalities, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland. Coming to you live from the shores of Lake Erie and Burke Lakefront Airport, join Team Big Play for all the best sports talk in Ohio. Check us out on social media at Big Play, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland.
Anthony Schlegel, just how physical he was. And you saw the girth and the power and everything he was bringing to the table, especially when he was a nice beefy 255 playing middle linebacker.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
How does an Ohioan build the perfect parlay?
Who's got something? Big guys looking for long odds.
The kids in Columbus are covering better than anyone, and at even odds.
If it's even, I'm leaving. Listen, our championship DVD starts today, all right?
Dude, I just got an invite to a Cincy playoff watch party.
Shut up. Cincy, State, Cleveland, the perfect parlay. I'm a genius.
For the best odds on Ohio sports, bet with your cojones.
It is Spanish, dummy.
Bet with Typical Sportsbook.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Let's jump into it. The morning update. Welcome back, Fontana Show. Main studio today for us on Twitter at Matt Fontana Show. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. All the places that you need us. We'll do the morning update. I'm excited to read about this. I just saw this article posted. I was actually posted yesterday, but I just saw it. Brian Fonseca, not Fontana, Fonseca. He said that he did a write-up about Kenny Atkinson, and he covered him in New Jersey. And I just want to read through some of the things that he brought up about Kenny Atkinson during his time there and why I think it relates to the Cavs. So we'll get to that coming up as well, including the grid. But Brian, the morning update, stories you got to know. Please take it away.
All right, well, the Guardians get their 50th, that's right, 5-0 win of the season as they beat the Orioles. They win 3-2. Tanner Bybee goes 6 innings, 5 hits, just 1 earned run, 7 Ks. Meanwhile, the bullpen doing its thing per usual. 3 innings pitched between Herron, Gaddis, and Barlow. No runs, a combined 6 strikeouts from the bullpen, Matt. And now we take on the Orioles in Game 2. Logan Allen on the mound.
I got a lot. Okay, number 1, Scott Barlow. Appreciate you, bro. I talked some crap. There was a time that I'm taking it all back. You struck out the side, baby. I love it. Love it, Scott Barlow. And the same thing, Amy was talking about it, of this organization. They wanted to go get a guy like Scott Barlow, right? Like, there was a guy like Emmanuel Clase is your reliever. He's a stud. He's the best. But there are nights just like last night where he's just not going to pitch. He just can't pitch. He and Cade Smith work too much. They're not going to go. A guy that has closed games out before to go out there and shut it on down. Well done. Not Blake Anderson, but Scott Barlow on getting it done. Some other little things to get you going here. Zach Meisel. The quickest that the Guardians Indians have ever won 50 games in a season. The fastest that they've ever done it. 1995. They did it in 71 games. Went to the World Series. 1954. They did it in 72 games. Went to the World Series. 1920. They did it in 75 games. They won the World Series. 1999. They were 50-25. They reached the playoffs. They did it in 76 games. So the whole point is, this is the 5th fastest in franchise history to get to 50 games. The prior 4, you either went to the playoffs in all 4, and 3 out of those 4, you went to the World Series. There you go. So we're playoff bound. There's no question on that. We are playoff bound. Then when you talk about games played, everybody jumped on this Stephen Kwan from Codify yesterday. Did you see that? Stephen Kwan, in his first 50 games this year, has 79 hits. The last player to have 79 hits or more in their first 50 games of the season was Ichiro in 2001. Now, the snake bite is he's not going to play all the games because he's already missed a chunk to reach a hit total or to try to get to 4. I know 400 is obviously very attainable, but it's going to be a tough look at it. But Kwan doing things, this team doing things, it's a lot of fun to watch. Setting these records is great. Now, tonight, you mentioned it. You turn it over to Logan Allen. You had a great start from Tanner Bybee. Dude, I feel like Logan Allen has turned a little corner here with his last couple of starts. The one thing I was trying to look up this morning, and I was going to do this. Best teams against left-handed pitching. Which teams lead baseball in OPS against lefties? Dodgers are 1. The Orioles are 6. So they're pretty good. They have an OPS of 760 as a team against left-handed pitching this season. So it's going to be hard. Like they do play pretty well against lefties. Guardians are 9th, by the way, in baseball against lefties. But I saw something about that. I wanted to follow that back up. They're a good team against lefty. But again, you saved your bullpen a little bit. So like if Logan Allen, like here's the thing. If the Guardians want to make this, and then more about the playoffs than the regular season, but for some of these, we're just going to turn this into a 5-inning game and then turn it over to our bullpen. That's it. That's all I need out of Logan Allen. Quality starts. 5 innings, 2 or less runs. That's all I want from him. Get it done tonight. A lot on the plate for him, but I'm excited to see him kind of continue this little trend that he's been on. It's been fun to watch.
All right, well, the Cavaliers officially, not officially, have their guy as they are set to hire Kenny Atkinson as the franchise's 24th head coach, Matt. And a lot of people thought it was going to be James Borrego until reportedly a last-minute meeting between Dan Gilbert, Cavs owner, and Kenny Atkinson he decided to go with his one that he liked more in Kenny Atkinson.
I mean, what are you buying into this Tom Izzo side of things,
I mean, he tried to hire him, so.
I mean, I get, but like if Izzo is like kind of Dan's confidant or he obviously goes to him for advice, and we'll see. At the end of the day, I was fine with Borrego and I'm fine with Kenny Atkinson. So what? And that's where the media, with where we live of 24-hour news cycles and Twitter and all that kind of stuff, like the leaking out of this, that was the only reason we knew that they shifted course, right? Was the reporting that they were leaning towards Borrego. They go Atkinson, but it's like that's the inner workings of a lot of decisions, a lot of business decisions, especially with millions of dollars on the line and everything else that's going on. Like, that's kind of what happens, man. So I look at it and I just say, if Dan wanted to get involved, he has every right to get involved. They go with Atkinson. That's fine. I do want to run through this Brian Fonseca article coming up where, again, he covered Kenny Atkinson in the Nets. He's got some nuggets about why he thinks this is going to help the Cavs. So we'll get to that in a little bit.
Alrighty, Matt. Well, the NHL season officially came to a close last night as the Florida Panthers avoided one of the biggest choke jobs in sports history as they win their first Stanley Cup. However, Connor McDavid from the Edmonton Oilers, he's the sixth player, Matt, in NHL history to win the Conn Smythe from the team that lost in the Stanley Cup final.
Conn Smythe's the MVP of the finals, and he was the best player. And I think for the Florida Panthers, you couldn't give it to Bob because he just had some atrocious games. They didn't have Carter Verhaeghe show up in big ways. Like, you didn't necessarily have Kachuk do it or anything like that. So that's fine. It was a fun series. And I think as the NHL continues to try to carve out their little piece of things, stuff like that is so great. Where basketball was done. And all of us were kind of sick about how basketball went. How many people were tuned in last night to listen or watch a game because they were just starving for some sports and they got hooked or they just become a fan all of a sudden? NHL, I'm telling you, man, I think that series was really right on for it to go 7 the way that it did. Get the drama. A lot of fun. I was rooting it away for the Panthers twofold. Number one, Doug Plagans, who was the former broadcaster for the Monsters. So I knew Doug back in his AHL days. He's the radio broadcaster for the Panthers. So I was actually listening to him after the baseball game last night on the call. So shout out to Doug. And then one of my co-hosts on ESPN, Jonathan Zaslow, is the biggest Panthers fan that I know, which is a weird thing. How the hell are you a Florida Panthers fan? He is like obsessed. So last night was a big night for him. So I sent him a congratulatory text. So I didn't have many connections to either team, but if I had to pick one, good for Florida. Congratulations for them. I'm just waiting for my Blue Jackets to get there one day. God willing.
I heard they're going to win next year. That's
the Jackets?
That's the rumor, yeah.
They got a new GM, man. Don Waddle's in here. He's making moves, doing this, doing that. Got to find a head coach. So potentially. NHL draft's right around the corner, too.
Well, here's to that. And lastly, for the morning update, Matt, we talked about this yesterday, and as expected, the Charlotte City Council voted Monday night to approve a joint $800 million stadium renovation plan for the Carolina Panthers that will tie the team to the city for the next 20 years. Matt, under this, David Tepper will pay just $150 million up front.
I mean, is that not insane? Is that not insane? And for Carolina, again, all of these things that happen have an impact on the Browns. The Browns will sit here and go to the city of Cleveland and go, look what they did down there in Charlotte. Charlotte, I try to say it's a little different because, again, they're the only game in town. Like, the Hornets are there. They have the MLS team. They've got the hockey team, that kind of stuff, which I get. But like, because, you know, the biggest difference is if the Panthers left Charlotte, they're not going 15 minutes down the road. They're leaving for good. They're going to another state, and you don't want that to happen. The Panthers, are they some team of, like, a great track record of stability and really good play? No. Like, the Browns are in a much better situation than the Panthers. So the Browns would come back to the city and go, look what they just got. David Tepper is worth double what the Haslams are worth, and he still got the city to pay for this and foot the bill. Now, again, that's a renovation. I'm assuming, and from what I hear, the Browns want the Brook Park Dome. That's what they want. Now, if the city of Cleveland is willing to foot the bill to renovate downtown, they'll take that. They didn't become billionaires by doing bad deals, right? So if you have someone that's willing to foot part of it, I think they're going to get it done. I know I'm in the minority in this. I continue the feeling to be that they're going to stay downtown. Again, pie in the sky. I want a brand new stadium downtown. That ain't happening. I still am leaning towards, I think they're just going to renovate the stadium over there. I felt that. There's not much for me to push aside to say that I'm going to flip on that. And I could be completely wrong. I understand that. But I still just think they're going to stay downtown. I do. Everything else got worked out for all those other teams to stay where they're at. I think that's what's going to happen to the Browns, too.
Would you rather have the Browns stay downtown or the Blue Jackets win the Cup next year?
Browns stay downtown.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're more important to me. They're more important.
I would agree 100%.
They're more important to me. And it's not that I just think that, they're not in the city of Cleveland anymore or going down to the city. I know that stadium's got a lot of problems. I go there as much as anybody does, right? I get all of it. There's just something about being in downtown Cleveland. And I also don't believe that you're ever going to get the juice out of the squeeze of the dome. Everybody just magically thinks a dome solves all of your problems. I don't know.
It did for Sandy Cheeks.
Yeah. I mean, I need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. Patrick comes running in and he goes, What kind of place is SpongeBob? If you get those references, you're listening to the right show. That all being said, I just don't. I'm not one that's just ready to jump in and go, you'll get everything you ever dream of with the dome. It's never that simple. It's never that easy. It never is simple or easy. Great. Damn you, great. All right, let's take it to it. Immaculate Grid today. We screwed it up yesterday. Let's get a better day today. You got to put a player in each box that have played for each team, including a 1,000-yard rushing season. Let me start our timer. Go.
All right, Patriots 1,000-yard rushing season.
It's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
I mean, again, I think they just had to have had 1,000, or do you think they have to have it with that team?
I mean, has Ramondre Stevenson not had 1,000 yards?
I mean, he just got paid. I don't know.
1,000 yards.
James White would have been my. You don't want to know what?
But no, he's a pass catcher.
Here's your better answer. Kevin Falk is probably your better answer on that.
See, I don't even know who that is.
So he was like on some of those early Super Bowl teams with Brady and crew. I don't have a better guess, so you might as well just rip Kevin Falk. We could go Zeke, but it's like, again, does it have to be with that team?
I don't think it does.
Do you want to put Zeke in there to see if it works and then that we know moving forward?
And even if it doesn't, we'll count it.
Yeah.
So,
see?
okay. But now we know.
Now we know.
We count that.
Would you give me Kevin Falk then?
Or should we just leave that one blank then because we only have 8 other guesses?
No. That's what I'm talking about. I just want to look to see if Kevin Falk actually had 1,000 yards.
What if we could have probably done D'Angelo Williams. Or not D'Angelo. What am I thinking of? LeGarrette Blount.
Oh, LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah,
you're probably right. You're probably right. You know what? Kevin Falk never had 1,000-yard rushing season. Never did.
Interesting.
He played for the Patriots for 12 years and never had a 1,000-yard rushing season. So I guess, all right, we would have busted out on that one anyway. All right.
Texans, Arian Foster?
Sure.
Had to have.
Had to have. Saquon. Okay.
Hunter
Henry.
I love my tight ends. Dude.
Yeah, you're good on that. Does Kenny Galladay work for the Chargers no, he came from Detroit.
Chargers, Texans.
Darius Slayton? No.
Does he play for the Texans? I don't even remember.
No, I was talking Giants, Chargers.
Oh.
I don't know. It's not coming.
Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
Chargers, Giants, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Well, actually, Tyrod also works for the Texans there, doesn't he?
I don't know.
I think he does. So we got to flip if we can find one for the other one, whichever one might be easier. Chargers. Well, Phillip Rivers never went to either one of those
I'm just going to rip this while it's fresh in my brain.
Yeah,
Wes
go ahead.
Welker.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm back to those flip right there. So again, I think, right? Tyrod Taylor played for the Texans.
It sounds right.
I feel pretty confident. Do you just want to rip? Just go out. Just rip him for the Giants. Just do
For the Giants,
yeah,
Chargers?
just do that. Yeah. Just do that because we know it works. Then we can just focus in on the other one. Or Broncos Giants too. Let's maybe do Broncos Giants. Broncos Giants.
Did Emmanuel Sanders ever play for the Giants? I don't think
so. I like where your head's at, but I don't think so. Did not Demaryius Thomas go for a year to the Giants?
I'm not sure.
I think he did. Oh, Brandon Marshall works there.
So he played for the Broncos?
Yes. Remember, he got drafted by the Broncos. We talked about that the other day.
Right.
So Brandon Marshall works there for sure.
2006 to 18, right? Not 12 to 18. Got it.
Yeah, he had a longer career than that. Yeah. Okay, so that works there. Because Brandon Marshall's sneaky in this one. He's good for a lot of these. Okay, Broncos Texans. Tebow, no. Mark Sanchez, no. David Carr, no. Joe Flacco, no. Huh. Brandon Cooks doesn't work there. Does
There's
Nick
a D end I'm thinking of.
What's that?
I think there's a D end that's in my head. Not Bradley Chubb.
No. It's not Clowney. It's not Watt. Brian Cushing never went to Denver. He was a linebacker. Vince
Whoa.
What?
Philip Lindsay? Didn't he play for Texans?
Sounds right. I'll listen to that. I'll listen to it.
What team did he go to?
I mean, he's bounced around. He never recreated what he did there in Denver.
I think he went to
All right,
Texans.
rip it. That's fine. I'll listen to that.
Or am I tripping?
No, it sounds semi-right to me.
Well,
yeah, go ahead. All right, nice. Okay. Chargers, Texans. I feel like there's a receiver that I'm not thinking of here. Chargers, Texans. Can't really do legacy players. The Texans are such a new team.
Yeah.
Easton Stick, I don't think ever went to Houston. Damn, man. Owen Daniels? Remember the tight end? I don't think he ever went to the Chargers, though. Did Duke Johnson go to the Chargers?
I'm not that.
I know he went to the Texans. I don't know if he ever went to the Chargers after us. You know, we always get messed up on offensive linemen, too.
Yeah.
Because Andrew Whitworth never played for the Chargers. I think he played in Houston. I can't remember that. I don't know that one for sure. Yeah, man, that's a tough one for us. It's a tough one for us. We got a minute. 1 minute. I mean, if I had to rip one, I don't even know if I've got a good one to rip, man.
I know.
Like, McCoy is out. Like, Josh McCown, I know played for Houston, but I don't think he ever played for the Chargers. You know, Jim Harbaugh played for the Chargers, but I don't think he ever played in Houston. They were. I don't even know if he's still playing when they were created. Dude, I don't know. I can't even think of any like running backs, or is that fullback that they had for a long time down there in Houston?
I mean, Danny Woodhead didn't play for the Texans, did he?
I don't think so. Danny Amendola? Brandon Cooks never played for the Chargers, right?
I don't believe so, no.
I don't know. I might have to give it up to them. I know that's the tough thing. Is like I'd like to finish it out to keep our streaks going and kind of make us help out a little bit, but rip whatever you got. I don't know. Can't think of anything.
I guess Danny. I mean, I don't know.
Sure.
I'm sure there's one that we're just, or like Ryan Mallett.
You could try Ryan Mallett. I'd listen to it. I got nothing better for you. I'd try it. I'd try it.
Schaub.
Sure. Either one.
I'll just try Ryan Mallett.
Okay. By the way, Ramondre Stevenson did have 1,000 yards for the Patriots.
We didn't get.
Yeah.
Ryan
No,
Mallett.
I know. Yeah. Scroll down. I want to see which one we got there. Scroll and see what we got there. 33 most popular.
It's Tyrod and Tyrod.
Oh. All right, we'll go back up. Let's see the Texans Chargers one. There's only 33, so maybe we should have gone Tyrod there.
Which one are we looking at?
Texans Chargers.
Texans Chargers. Yeah. Only 33. I mean,
Only 33.
I don't recognize
Nobody.
Again, Tyrod, Ronnie Brown, DeAndre Carter.
Would not have gotten that.
Yeah.
Now go back, do Giants Chargers, and think if we missed somebody there. We should have got somebody there.
Didn't we get somebody there?
I did, but we used Tyrod there. We should have used Tyrod for the other one.
Right.
Would there have been an easier one here?
Again, for those, I mean, Geno Smith.
Would not have gotten that one.
I didn't know.
Yeah, but there we go. All right, want to get to this article from the Action Network. Brian Fonseca, who covered Kenny Atkinson when he was with the Brooklyn Nets, did a write-up after he got the job with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I thought I want to piece through, because again, we kind of know Kenny Atkinson, but diving into what he did in Brooklyn, knowing that it'll change here. You know, the teams, and we did that when he got hired, right? Their best players are Spencer Dinwiddie and D'Angelo Russell. Like, things are Joe Harris put up a lot of points for him. So we're in a better spot than I think Kenny Atkinson was when he took the Brooklyn job. But here's a little insight from Brian Fonseca. So he said, this is first off a slam dunk hire for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And he says it makes so much philosophical sense, and there are going to be a lot of winners, especially Evan Mobley. Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, if remaining on the roster, helped develop under Atkinson. Kenny Atkinson prefers to play with pace and space. Even his 2016-17 Nets were first in pace despite having the worst roster in the NBA. So let's stop right there. You want to play a pace type of game. I don't think Jared Allen fits that, right? He can get up down the court, but you need space and pace.
When he's running like Shaggy, have you seen that meme?
Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm going to knock anybody how I run. You'd probably laugh to see how many run, but
I run so poorly.
It's so bad. I'm so bad. So, like, that would tell you Jared Allen's not your fit here. And he said the Nets, 2 years later, dropped to 11th, but that's a vast improvement. The Cavs were 22nd in pace this past NBA season. So if we start there, of Kenny Atkinson wanting to push the pace, that would actually probably tell you to keep Darius Garland, would it not? And tell you that Jared Allen is the expendable piece here. And he said, additionally, this hire should be Donovan Mitchell proof. If he stays, as many people think, this is a great hire. What Atkinson did in Brooklyn is remembered fondly because of the rebuild that took over 3 years. They went from a 20-win team and eventually the playoffs and then injury late. Remember Jeremy Lin, Spencer Dinwiddie, all that other kind of stuff. The Cavs, even if Mitchell leaves, which I don't think they will, are on track for a quick retool and a rebuild. But he says the biggest winner in this whole thing, from Brian Fonseca on the Action Network, the biggest winner here should be Evan Mobley. The reason being that under Kenny Atkinson, he got both Al Horford and Brook Lopez to become three-point shooting big men and hit them on a decent rate. Atkinson was an assistant on the Hawks when Horford jumped from barely a half a three per game to over 3 in just one season turn. And since then, he's actually never been lower than shooting 3 threes per game. So again, that was an assistant with Mike Budenholzer in Atlanta, but he took Al Horford to be a three-point shooter. And Horford, roughly 46% of his twos became within 10 feet. Just 3.7 of his shots came from 3. And that's then turned it into a career high in threes attempted and the mid-range shots also. So basically the whole write-up here is he helped take Al Horford from just shooting within 10 feet to spreading his game out. Then they talk about Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez shot about 34% of his shots from 10 to 24 feet, mid-range to long twos. And then the season prior, 98% of his shots were twos. Then flip that to shooting 14% from mid, 33 then became from three. So again, a guy that in 1 year, almost 100% of his shots were two-point shots to then dropping out to 33% of his shots coming from behind the arc. So you talk about what you expect from Evan Mobley. You want him to start branching out. And I think I saw the Cavs start to do that with Evan Mobley. But the real big adjustment is not going to come until he gets a full off. Like, I'm going into this offseason right now with Evan Mobley. I know Kenny Atkinson's coaching overseas right now. But you get Evan Mobley on the horn and go, you're going to be a three-point shooter for us next year. You start working on that now. And I don't know, again, Kenny Atkinson's still got to sign his deal and officially become the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. But the sooner you can get to that in the offseason and tell him these are the drills we want you doing, this is where we want you posting up and getting your shots up, all of that is going to help Evan Mobley. So the number one decision we know with the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell, whether he stays or goes, we assume that's going to be it. But reading this up and taking a look at it here, the three-point shooting from Evan Mobley, something to keep earmarked of what they're going to do. And now is the time to get that development in place and help out Evan Mobley to get him ready to go and feeling good about his shot heading into the season. Like, those shots from Evan Mobley aren't ugly. You know, guys that shoot ugly and they don't look like they belong out there. I like Evan Mobley's three. And I seen, he didn't hit it a great clip last year, but that's something to build on. So if Kenny Atkinson sits down, the number one thing is, dude, we're going to get him to space the floor. Again, pace and space. That's the one thing now Kenny Atkinson wants to do. I'm excited for that. I really am.
If you can get Evan Mobley to truly be that floor spacer, I mean, that completely changes the dynamic of your offense. I mean, and that's just, we talked about the evolution of the NBA. Like, just for instance, the Celtics, who just won the championship, you have 4, probably 5 guys that you're starting that can shoot threes. What you saw Kristaps Porzingis do in the NBA Finals, if Evan Mobley could do some of that, that's not only going to open up the floor for him more, that opens up the floor for, if you keep Jerry down, opens up the floor for guys to drive like Donovan Mitchell, who loves to slash. Yeah. It just makes everything easier.
Well, what does that change for your decisions this offseason? By the way, breaking news, Kenny Atkinson's on his way back to Cleveland. Chris Fedor said soon-to-be coach Kenny Atkinson is en route back to Cleveland. He was overseas and is an assistant doing some work with the French national team, but he's going to be back in town soon.
He's probably pulling up here. See if he wants to do his first Cleveland interview on the Garage Beer Throne.
Wouldn't that be crazy? We're at Burke.
Yeah.
He's coming to Burke. Well, I guess overseas. Do you think he's flying private back?
I don't know.
Probably not. He probably just grabbed a commercial flight. Hey, Kenny, welcome to Cleveland, where we have no direct flights anymore. I know he's going to fly private with the team, but I'm just saying. I'm assuming he's on a commercial flight back to Cleveland, but that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. We'll have to keep our eye out for that. All right, let's catch your final break of the morning. We come back, get geared up for tonight with the Guardians. We'll run through a little bit of timeout. We'll check our Twitter questions as well. Stay with us. Fontana Show, right here on Big Play.
Well, how do they know I'm doing this? Did somebody leak this out?
It's social media.
Oh.
It's just, that's the way social media works now.
I thought maybe you were just running that yep.
Welcome to Big Play, a sports media team that started back in 2014, and now we're not in a garage. Look at us, incorporating some of Cleveland's favorite sports personalities, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland. Coming to you live from the shores of Lake Erie and Burke Lakefront Airport, join Team Big Play for all the best sports talk in Ohio. Check us out on social media at Big Play, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland.
Anthony Schlegel, just how physical he was. You saw the girth and the power and everything he was bringing to the table, especially when he was a nice beefy 255 playing middle linebacker.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
How does an Ohioan build the perfect parlay?
Who's got something? Big guys looking for long odds. The kids in Columbus are covering better than anyone. And at even odds. If it's even, I'm leaving. Listen, our championship DVD starts today. All right? Dude, I just got an invite to a Cincy playoff watch party. Shut up. Cincy, State, Cleveland, the perfect parlay. I'm a genius.
For the best odds on Ohio sports, bet with your cojones.
It is Spanish, dummy.
Bet with Typical Sportsbook.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, let's jump on to it. We skipped time up yesterday, which just sucks, but we had so much stuff. So we'll make up for it today. A lot to get to. We'll run through what happened this day in history on the 25th of June, just slipping away from us. But here we are. Let's head on back this day, 2021. A report that the Cavs are starting to explore trade options for Colin Sexton. It all worked out. I liked Colin Sexton. He was a fine player. Don't necessarily regret the draft pick there, but you got Donovan Mitchell here. He was a big piece of that. That's fine. The thing I can't remember, when did they actually pull the trigger? They didn't trade him till September 22nd. So we had to go through that whole season of 21 and 22 before they were able to pull that trade off for Donovan Mitchell. You know, and I think, like, he's a little like Kevin Love and some of these other guys that he's just always was getting traded out of here. And I think that's now become Darius Garland, maybe a little bit. But I'll tell you this, and I said that this day when that report came out. Once those reports stop, there's no going back from that. When you start hearing, hey, they're exploring trade options here, or hey, they're starting to kick the tires, there's no going back on that. There is no going back on that about what they're going to do moving on from their guy. And again, it's like it sucks because they're still people. You're still asking them to play a season and be around their guys when they know inevitably they're going to get traded. I'll tell you this, like, I feel like we're too far down the rabbit hole. Darius Garland's going to get traded. I feel that. The question is if Jarrett Allen is going to get traded too. Does Clutch come back and rescind their trade request? Like, I don't know. There's so many things afoot, though. I just, am I wrong, Ryan, for feeling like Darius Garland's he's out of here. He's gone. Not by his own, I guess by his own admission because he wants to go. But
I don't know what to think anymore about anybody on this Cavs roster outside of Mobley and Donovan Mitchell. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, this is just for me. This day, 2021, The Batman was supposed to be released. They had to push it back a year.
Matt.
What?
Just last night, I finally watched the trailer for The Penguin.
Yeah? I told you. I told you.
Whoever does Colin Farrell's makeup needs
you ever watch him get into makeup for that?
Award.
Yeah, it's so good, man. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so awesome.
I usually don't know how I feel about them doing shows within a movie universe, but it's spread out enough. As long as they don't do the Marvel stuff where you're getting a show every 6 months, I don't want any of that.
Yes, Marvel saturated the market and overdid it. Here's my biggest question. I'm going to watch. So we're talking about the Penguin.
Is Matt Reeves involved in this at all?
Yes. This is Matt Reeves' offshoot.
I was going to say better. It has to be because
it is.
It has.
So this is obviously pretty much all shot already. They're going to start shooting the Batman early next year. So Reeves' script still isn't done. James Gunn leaked that out. He said the script for the Batman, the second Batman, it's not even done yet.
Why? How does James Gunn know that? Are they friends or something?
No, he's the new head of DC. James Gunn's.
Oh, I didn't even think though this was a part of that.
Yeah. Oh no, it is. Everything is under his umbrella now. So when James Gunn came in, the first thing he said was Reeves gets to do his own thing. He's over here, but it doesn't mean that he's still not under James Gunn and still kind of his boss and all that.
So this new Superman movie with Corn Sweat, that's not going to have anything to do. That's not going to be in the same world.
Nope. They're going to get a new Batman. Robert Pattinson's off here. They will cast a new Batman one day. That will be in the Superman realm and all that. I'm available, by the way. Send them that clip.
Do you like that?
I don't have a problem with it because what people fail to realize is we all know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, movies try to make it sound like they're succinct in their own little universe. I know that Batman isn't over here. That's fine with me. I don't care because I don't want anything screwing up Matt Reeves' Batman.
Yeah, facts.
So I will sacrifice Brave and the Bold and Superman. I will sacrifice all that. Do not screw with Matt Reeves' Batman. That's what I want. I think James Gunn is smart enough to realize that. So let Batman be over here. I know George Clooney played Batman. I know Michael Keaton played Batman. I know Christian. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. So set it off to the side. So this is in Reeves' little world. My question is, again, we're going to watch it. I'm in. I'm the Penguin, right? When the second Batman comes out, are they going to tell people, you really need to watch the Penguin before you get into this movie here? Because in the trailer, they show you a flooded Gotham.
Yeah,
it's picking right up after the spoiler alert. Great. No Man's Land. It's a long, long comic arc. Pretty good, though. Yeah. Pretty good. So anyway, so that's where I think they're getting to, and it's smart, right? Because they're making money while they're not, right? Everybody's
I'm already the gap.
Right, they're filling the gap in. So I'll watch it. The only thing I don't know, and I don't even know if you know this, is the Penguin one of those ones that they're going to release one every Friday, or it's like they're all out and I can just binge this?
It'll probably be weekly.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. I'm on the hook already. I'll never not have HBO Max. I'm in all day. So that's my only wonder is, like, will the second Batman, am I going to have to watch the Penguin to know what's going on? Or
I would assume, actually, I don't know.
Here's my best guess. It's that you don't have to, but you're going to get the little nuanced things, or you're going to get a little reference. It's a little payoff for you watching the Penguin. But they still have to market this to a mass amount of people that didn't, where you can just watch, you can come in and just watch the Batman without watching the first one and just be all good. But eventually we got it. It's amazing. It's great. This day, 2020, in the midst of all COVID, baseball announced that their opening day would be set for July 23rd. So they had guys getting back for spring training a couple weeks after that, and they would start the season around July 23rd. This day, 2019, Carlos Santana was selected to the Home Run Derby for the Guardians. Went twice because he did it here in Cleveland, too.
The other one?
What's that?
Not that one.
Not that one, the other one. Yeah, I don't know how Carlos Santana, could you imagine him swinging with a guitar? What a miss at the All-Star game. Because, we're all guitar drunk in this town. Should have added the other Carlos Santana up there.
That'd be a good bracket one day. Best guitarist ever.
So I've discussed that a lot about, bracket ideas and all that kind of stuff. Have we done the best guitarist?
No.
Not on this show. See, I always go back to my prior stop here, and I always think about things that I did. So we did do one of the biggest ones that we did, which I didn't do a month-long one on this, but I should have, was the best vocalist of all time.
Yeah.
Like, how do you pick between Freddie Mercury, David Gilmour to a point, but it was like the best vocalist of all time? And then again, you're talking about like current, like Adele or Taylor Swift. Oh, people get all pissed off.
Yeah, come on.
Could you imagine a finals with like, again, Freddie Mercury, Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift doesn't even stand close to them in terms of
you would
vocalists.
think. I don't know. I'm just saying. But best guitarist. Ooh.
You'd have like Slash. You'd have
Clapton.
You'd have
David Gilmour.
Jimi Hendrix.
And Hendrix would probably take it down. He probably should.
Yeah.
But then, like, on the Rolling Stone list, there's like we should go back to Bo Diddley. We should go back to Chuck Berry. Those guys are always in the top 5 ranked for the best guitarist of all time, but sometimes they don't get the recognition. I think Hendrix would probably run away with it.
Some Tom Morello.
I love Tom Morello. Of newer ones, I'm a big John Frusciante guy from Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think he's awesome. Yeah, I don't know, man. Is it too late to throw that out? Because we would need solicitation for that. We would need people to get in on that with us.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll write that down. We missed the brag. I think we missed the boat on it this week. We'll take a little break because next week's 4th of July too. So we'll maybe take a pass there on the bracket this week. This day, 1997, the NHL approved franchises for Columbus, Nashville, Atlanta, and Minnesota to all be done there. Of course, Atlanta, they're already gone. They already left. They're back up in Winnipeg. And didn't the Wild move? Or no, they're still a thing, right?
Asking the wrong guy. Was that Minnesota?
Yeah. Well, see, they're the replacement for the North. You know, the Dallas Stars used to be the Minnesota North Stars, and then they went to Dallas. Minnesota is still there as the Wild. Atlanta was just doomed from the start. They sucked. They went back up to Winnipeg. And the Predators are fine. I think the Predators are actually a pretty cool name. This day, 1994, the Indians' 18-game home win streak came to an end. They fell to the Yankees 11-6. This day, 1988, the June record temperature for Cleveland was set at 104 degrees. I can't tell you the last 100-degree day.
We were close last week.
I think we were, but and especially heat index versus actual temperature. Bro, I was at a 98-degree playoff baseball game in October one year in Cleveland, just blazing. I do love that about our town. Yeah. You get it all. As much as I don't like the winter, I think it helps you appreciate the summer a little bit more.
It does.
And there's some elements of this. My favorite thing, my mom always said this, probably where I got it. The changing of the seasons is one of my favorite times. Now I won't wish this away. I love 85 degrees, sun out, get out on that boat, get out on the golf course. I won't wish that away. But fall is also my favorite time of the year. 55, a little overcast. I love it, man. I love it. This day, 1984, talking about best guitarists of all time, Prince released his Purple Rain album. I think also probably gets a little slept on for guitarists there. This day, 1951, the first ever color television broadcast happened this day, 1951. Arthur Godfrey hosted an hour-long musical variety show called The Premiere out of CBS New York. It was broadcast to 5 cities on the Eastern Seaboard for the first ever color television broadcast. Did you watch the Rickwood game where they went back and showed you what it would be like in a black and white?
One?
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch it.
Oh, it was pretty cool. Now, 1080, 4K will be there one day. It's crazy to see. This day, 1929, Herbert Hoover approved the building of the Hoover Dam. If you could have a monument or something like that named after you, what would it be? A lake? A dam?
That's a good question.
A river?
A bridge?
A bridge? A lake, I think, would be pretty cool.
A lake would be cool.
I'd
have to think about that.
An island? An island? You know, a little island like Johnson's Island, some out there, Kelly's Island out there.
Epstein's Island.
Welcome.
You really want that, Smoke? I'm sure it's for sale.
Dr. Disrespect's Island.
Okay, let's stop that right there.
Jared Fogle Island.
We are gonna. They're gonna
Wander Franco Island.
Whatever happened to him, by the way?
The anti one, the Chris Hansen Island, the good island.
Did you see somebody got a cameo of Chris Hansen and sent it to Dr. Disrespect?
I did see that.
So where are we living then? This day, 1876, Custer's last stand. The Battle of Little Bighorn. Major General George Custer and his men were wiped out by the Cheyenne and Sioux tribes at Custer's last stand. NBA drafts, I got a lot of them this day in history. Go back to this day, 2015. Any remembrance of who the number 1 overall pick was this day, 2015?
What sport are we talking about?
Basketball. These are all basketball drafts.
2015?
I have three. I have 3 NBA drafts that all happened this day in history. This day, 2015.
2015. So correct me if I'm wrong. Kyrie was 11?
Yes.
So Bennett would have been 12?
Yeah.
Was 15? I think this might be a little late. Okafor?
No, good guess, but no. Though Okafor was in this draft, but he didn't go 1.
Was he 3?
He went 3.
And was Jabari Parker 2?
No, D'Angelo Russell was 2.
So number 1 I need.
Kentucky. Freshman.
Oh, Anthony Davis.
No.
No?
I think he might have been the year prior.
He was early in 2015.
I think he was,
Kentucky freshman.
Which is crazy to think
Not
about. This
John
guy's been in the
Wall.
league for a decade. It doesn't feel like that.
It's not John Wall, obviously.
No, it's Cat. Carl Anthony Towns.
Oh, it was Cat.
Carl
Wow.
Anthony Towns. D'Angelo Russell, Jahlil Okafor. Kristaps Porzingis went 4. Devin Booker went 13. Kelly Oubre was in this first round. Cavs took Tyus Jones with the 24th overall pick, but they traded him right away to Minnesota. We got Jetty Osman out of this draft in the second round. The Last Jedi. Hey, man, he carved out a pretty good career for himself. We also got Rakeem Christmas in that draft via a couple of trades. Never really panned out. All right, we go back to the draft 2009, this day in history. Any guess? Number 1 overall pick?
NBA again?
Yeah. Oh, these are all
obviously.
NBA.
Duh,
Yeah,
I
these
guess
are all
it's
NBA.
time hop.
Yeah.
2009.
This guy was in the news recently because he just announced his retirement. We're of that age.
He just retired this offseason?
Just retired this offseason.
2009. Can you tell me his school, or does that give it away?
Might give it away, but I'll give it to you anyway. Oklahoma. Not a lot of basketball players, but
yes. Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin is correct. Hasheem Thabeet went 2. James Harden went 3. The big miss for a lot of people. Steph Curry went 7. I was drunk on this draft, and I was so mad the Cavs didn't have a pick until 30 when we took Christian Ienga, because it went Harden, Tyreek Evans, Ricky Rubio went 5, Johnny Flynn, the famous pick, one before Steph Curry. DeMar DeRozan went 9. Tyler Hansborough, Drew Holiday, Jeff Teague were all first-round picks in the draft this day, 2009. Again, the Cavs took Christian Ienga in the first round. Patrick Beverley was a second-round pick in this one, too. Patty Mills in the second round, this day, 2009. All right, and then this day, 1997, future Hall of Famer Tim Duncan goes first overall. Keith Van Horn 2. Chauncey Billups 3. Tracy McGrady went number 9. This day, 1997. Cavs had 2 picks. They took Derek Anderson, not that one, the other one, at 13, and Brevin Knight went 16. To the Cavs this day, 1997. Very happy birthday goes out to NBA Hall of Famer Willis Reed, to Kembe Mutombo, Carlos Delgado, the late great, talk about good vocalist, George Michael, Wham and crew, Ricky Gervais, Linda Cardinelli, Angela Kinsey of Office fame, and Anthony Bourdain. Speaking of late great, Mr. Anthony Bourdain. All right, 4 for you today on the movies and television shows. We start by saying these are all movies, okay? We start this day, 2004. A lot of women, a lot of girls of this age loved this movie.
High School Musical?
No. It was the ultimate romantic.
16 Candles?
No.
Oh, that's too early.
Yeah. 04.
Oh, is it with Heath Ledger?
No, not 10 Things I Hate About You. Great movie, though.
This was a...
04. A love story movie.
Okay.
That, I'm painting with a broad brush here. It's a very popular movie. There's a very famous kissing scene in the rain.
Oh, The Notebook.
The Notebook is correct.
Yeah.
I was going to go with 2 young, again, lovers that are separated by it's almost like Romeo and Juliet, like they weren't supposed to be together. Rachel McAdams falls in love with him over the summer, and then you find out that, spoiler alert, the whole movie is they're passing away and they're telling the story. The whole story goes, God, who played the old Ryan Gosling? James Garner. And his wife has dementia, and he's got to read her the story over and over again of how they fell in love. She only remembers it for the night, and he's got to tell her the story again the next day over and over. With Noah and Allie.
Damn, that's beautiful. I didn't know that was the...
You never seen The Notebook?
No, that makes me want to cry just hearing it.
Oh, I had to... Well, I mean, I would say I had to see it, but like of that era when you were dating girl... Like my girlfriend at the time loved that movie, so I saw it many times.
You were a simp.
I guess, probably. So yeah, the story goes, she's a rich... Again, how do any of these stories go? The rich, well-off, well-to-do girl, she's on vacation somewhere on the beach, right? It's almost like Greece. And they're at Seabrook Island in 1940. And she's there for the summer, and she finds a lumber mill worker, Noah. And again, he's got not much to him, and they fall in love. They separate for the summer. They get angry. They get into a fight with one another. And then it comes to, she goes off and like finds her husband to be, and she comes back and she yells at him. And she goes, "You never like pursued me. You just let me go." And then the big plot twist is her mom walks in with like 1,000 letters and gives them to her and says, "He wrote you every day."
Damn.
They fall back in love. So then he wrote a book about it, The Notebook. That's the whole point. And she doesn't remember. He's got to read it to her. So there's The Notebook. I don't know if you need to go see it. It's an all right movie, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But The Notebook, this day 2004. All right. Well, I guess this also qualifies as one of these, kind of rom-com. Now, I will say, I've never seen this movie. But it came out this day, 1993. So I'm just going to read you the overarching, here it is. The film follows a journalist who becomes enamored with a widowed architect when the latter's son calls into a talk radio program requesting a new partner for his grieving father. So again, this is the other side. The father is widowed, and he finds love through a radio show, and he finds the person for him.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that plot. I'm just throwing out a guess here. Sleepless in Seattle. Is that it?
Right!
Wow.
Yes! Nice!
Wow, that's crazy because the second you said 93, I was going to say that, but I was like, I'll let him just say the plot in
Meg
case.
Ryan and Tom
Wow.
Hanks. Also, Tom Hanks met his future wife, Rita Wilson, on this film.
Wow.
Nice. Sleepless in Seattle is correct.
Let's go.
All right, here's an interesting one for you. In the fact that I've got two movies that debuted the same day in 1982. So I'm going to save one for last because the hint is that I love that movie. So I'll start with the one that's a little bit not. Number one, again, 1982. This movie actually was recently remade with the star from The Notebook. That doesn't really help you, does it? Do you know who stars in The Notebook?
Ryan Gosling.
Correct. He remade this movie a few years ago.
Blade Runner.
That is correct.
I'm so good.
That is correct.
I'm so good.
The film set in dystopian future LA of actually, ironically, 2019, when synthetic humans known as replicates are bioengineered to work on space colonies, but a fugitive group of the advanced replicates escapes Earth, and burnout cop Rick Deckard, Harrison Ford, reluctantly agrees to hunt them down. Blade Runner is correct. Final one for an impressive day for Ryan on the movies. Also, obviously, this day, 1982. This is an alien film on a very remote portion of our Earth.
Like Antarctica?
Yes.
I don't know if that's going to get me there.
This alien assimilates to anything that it can touch. So it could turn into you, it could turn into me, it turns into a dog early in this movie.
It's like a Predator, alien type thing?
No. John Carpenter film that I would honestly say is probably top 15 movie for me all time. I love this movie.
The Thing?
The Thing is correct.
Wow. I don't know how I pulled that out.
The Thing is correct.
I don't know how I pulled that out.
They made some ass remake like 6 years ago. Like just complete and utter trash. But the original Thing, oh, buddy.
I just pulled both of those
Oh, buddy, let me tell you. Kurt Russell, RJ McReady, they got to burn the blood to see. Dude, Windows, Keith David, Childs, come on, man. The Thing is a movie and a half.
Wow, what
buddy.
a day.
The Thing. Well done. Wilford Brimley. What's that thing? Have you ever seen that Wilford Brimley thing?
I don't think I know who
The Wilford Brimley line. Have you ever seen that?
No, I don't think so.
The Wilford Brimley line. So it's so weird that, like, there's the thing. When Concours reached theaters on June 21st, 1985, Wilford Brimley was 50 years, 9 months, and 6 days. So when you cross the Brimley cocoon line, apparently that's a social media thing, when you become 50 and a half or whatever it is. So I don't know why I just brought that up. But yeah, Wilford Brimley and The Thing, Hell of a good flick, man. You know, it's a hell of a good thing. The Guardians, let's go.
Yes.
Tonight, get it done. Go for 2 in a row. You already won the series. I'm watching Logan Allen tonight, man. Can Josh Naylor's in a little bit of one bad game. It is what it is.
I just want 4 innings out of
4 innings, 2 or less starts. 4 innings, 2 or less starts. That's it. Oh, Mike tweets, by the way. How can we forget Eddie Van Halen for best guitarist of all time?
Oh, yeah, we actually got a few.
Did we get a few of those on the Twitter side of it? Or on the YouTube comments?
We did. Carlos Santana, he said David Gilmour and John Frusciante.
Yeah, John Frusciante is where it's at, man. He's really good.
And then Jack White from White Stripes.
You know, he's a little out there, but like really good. Edge, Sting. Maybe we got to do that. I think we're too late in the game for today. You want to remember for 2 weeks from now? I think it'll drag it on over. We'll drag it on over. Do it on up. Drag you on over to the return tonight. Josh and Maria Cribbs also enter the jungle with James Rapine and crew. Appreciate everybody following. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Dude, NBA draft's tomorrow night.
I know, it's weird.
The NBA draft is tomorrow night. So we'll get geared up, ready to go for that. Excited as we go. Cavs with the pick. And we'll talk to you tomorrow, 9 a.m. For Ryan Tyler, I'm Matt Fontana. As always, take it easy.